In 2014, two young women vanished in the forests of Panama. Searches were carried out, and when all hope seemed lost, their backpacks, clothing, and even bones scattered in the jungle were discovered. What really happened? Who was behind this tragedy? That's what we'll talk about today. So, turn on your cosmic mode, because nothing will distract you from watching this video in the universe. Two best friends, Kris Kremers, 21, and Lisanne Froon, 22, loved traveling. They came to Panama, eager to enjoy its beauty. The girls were university students from the Netherlands who had joined a program to work with children. Their plan was to help teach English and improve their own Spanish skills. March 15, 2014. Kris and Lisanne flew from Amsterdam to Paris, and then continued on to Panama. March 29, 2014. They arrived in the town of Boquete and decided to stay at the home of Miriam Guerrero, who rented out rooms. However, their plans changed when local school staff told them they wouldn't be able to work with the children that week. Now the girls had free time, and they wanted to use it to explore. According to Miriam, Lisanne wasn't feeling well the day before the hike. She had a sore throat and a cough. Miriam doubted they could handle a long walk the next day, but the girls insisted on going. That day, they set out to hike the famous El Pianista Trail in Boquete. It's about 8 kilometers long, cutting through waterfalls, dense jungle, and dangerous cliffs. This trail isn't for casual tourists. Locals say it's mysterious and even dangerous. The director of the school had already warned them not to go without a guide. He even gave them the phone number of a guide named Feliciano. Later, investigators would find his business card among the girls' belongings. They had arranged to meet him on April 2nd. April 1st, 2014, Tuesday. Kris and Lisanne set out on the El Pianista Trail. They told their parents about the plan. Now here's an important detail. To get to the trailhead, they flagged down a taxi. The driver told them he could drop them off along the way, but there were already 2 young men sitting in the back seat. The girls agreed to ride along. During the ride, Kris and Lisanne tried practicing their Spanish with the driver and even told him about where they were headed. According to him, the 2 young men in the back got out before the girls did, but he couldn't recall their faces. Around 1:40 p.m., he said the girls got out of the car. However, Kris's camera recorded that they had already begun their hike at 11 a.m. This was just one of many contradictions that would surround the case. During the hike, the girls took many photos. Locals had warned them not to walk alone, but they ignored the advice. Some sources claim they were accompanied by a dog named Blue, belonging to a local restaurant owner. In Panama, it's common for tourists to let dogs guide them through trails. If a tourist gets lost, they can simply tell the dog to go home, and it will lead them back. But Blue returned home alone. That evening, the host family began searching for the girls, but when they couldn't find them, they decided to wait until morning. The next day, Feliciano, the guide, and the Spanish school director also realized something was wrong when Kris and Lisanne failed to show up for their planned meeting. April 3, 2014, Thursday. The Panamanian government, along with locals, launched a massive search in the jungle. By this time, Kris and Lisanne had not contacted their parents since April 1st. Before then, they had been in regular touch. Kris's father, Hans Kremers, said he sent her a message on April 2nd, but she never replied. According to their families, if the girls had changed their plans, they would have informed their parents. April 5, 2014. Police and rescuers finished searching the El Pianista Trail and surrounding areas, then began exploring the outer mountain slopes. Notices about the missing girls were sent to nearby towns. April 6, 2014. The parents still had no news about their daughters. They flew to Panama with private investigators to join the search. April 8, 2014. Helicopters were added to the operation. Police later said the search for Kris and Lisanne became one of the largest operations in Panamanian history. April 10, 2014. Kris's parents also arrived in Panama. April 14, 2014. The active phase of the search was called off. No trace of the girls was found. There were no signs carved into trees or rocks, nothing resembling SOS signals. April 30, 2014. A reward of $30,000 was announced for any information about the whereabouts of Kris and Lisanne. Later, a Panamanian TV channel added another $10,000 to the reward. By late May, 18 Dutch police officers and 12 specially trained dogs were sent to Panama to assist. Their first 3 days were spent searching homes around Boquete and the El Pianista Trail. Many people began to believe this mysterious disappearance would never be solved. But 2.5 months later, on June 14, 2014, everything changed. That day, a local woman brought a backpack to the police. She claimed she had found it by a rice paddy along the Quilabro River, near the village of Alto Romero, about 17 kilometers from Boquete and 8 kilometers from the last place the girls had been seen. The woman insisted the backpack hadn't been there before, since she walked that same path daily for work. She believed someone had deliberately placed it there. Inside the backpack were. Investigators reported finding 34 different fingerprints on the items. Small blue diamond 13 on the backpack itself. Small blue diamond 12 on the phones and camera. Small blue diamond 6 on the underwear. 2 of the prints belonged to unidentified women. 1 DNA sample belonged to 2 different people, one of them confirmed to be male. Even more disturbing, reports suggested that at least 1 fingerprint matched someone already listed in Panama's criminal database. But police never released updated information on that lead. There were also traces of soil and leaves inside the backpack, but Dutch forensic labs could not identify where the soil came from. It was never compared to the soil at the site where the backpack was found. So many questions remained. How could the backpack stay so clean and dry for 72 days in a wet rainforest? If it floated down the river, why wasn't it damaged? Did someone place it there intentionally? If so, why did it appear only on June 14th? And who did those fingerprints belong to? When fingerprints led nowhere, investigators turned to the phones and camera, hoping for answers. The call logs revealed that only a few hours after their hike began, the girls had already run into trouble. The first emergency call was made at 4:39 p.m. from Kris's iPhone. A second call followed at 4:51 p.m. from Lisanne's Samsung Galaxy. Both attempts dialed 112, the European emergency number, which also works in Panama. If not available, the call should automatically reroute to Panama's local emergency services. But due to poor reception in the area, none of the calls went through. After those first failed calls, the girls turned their phones off and didn't try again until about 14 hours later. Phone records show that one or both of them were still alive until at least April 6, because Kris's iPhone had been powered on and off several times. Starting on April 7, however, someone repeatedly entered the wrong PIN code on the iPhone. This continued until April 11. Now, keep in mind, in 2014, it would have been nearly impossible for an iPhone 4 to hold a charge for 11 days. Investigators wondered, why were the wrong passcodes being entered? Was it the girls themselves, panicking and confused? Or was someone else trying to unlock the phone? What makes this theory more troubling is that the iPhone 4, like modern smartphones, already had an emergency call button on the lock screen. That meant you didn't need the passcode to call for help, just a signal. So if it was really the girls, why keep trying the wrong codes? This raised another possibility, maybe a third party wanted access to the phone, not to make calls, but to look at its contents, messages, photos, or other data. When investigators examined the phone, they found no clear evidence of new photos or messages. So attention turned to the camera. The first photo taken after they got out of the taxi was photo number 491, timestamped 1:01 p.m. By then, the girls had reached the top of the trail, posed for pictures, and begun descending into the jungle. Photo number 505 shows Kris with her hands behind her back, taken at 1:20 p.m. Around this time, their phones lost reception. By 1:40 p.m., there was no more signal. Photo number 507 shows Kris crossing a small stream, taken at 1:54 p.m. Soon after came photo number 508, followed by photo number 509, but photo number 509 had been deleted. No one knows why, and it could never be recovered. The first emergency call attempt was made about 2 hours and 45 minutes after that deleted photo. And then comes the most chilling part of the case, the mystery night photos. On the girl's digital camera, investigators found more than 90 nighttime photos, taken between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. on April 8, at least a week after they first went missing. That means a photo was taken roughly every 2 minutes during those 3 hours. Most of the pictures show nothing but plants and rocks illuminated by the flash. But some contain disturbing details. Let's go through them. Photo number 542, 1:38 a.m. A blurry shot of rocks and undergrowth, pointing downward into darkness. Another photo shows what look like red plastic bags tied to branches and placed on a rock, with 2 scraps of paper beside them. Some think the girls built this as a way to collect rainwater when they were dehydrated. Others believe they waved the bags to catch the attention of a helicopter. But what about the scraps of paper? They seem too small to be visible from the air. Maybe it was a signal marking their location. Yet, strangely, no one has ever found those red bags or branches. One of the most terrifying photos seems to show the side of Kris's head. Her hair looks clean and dry, which is bizarre after a week in Panama's rain-soaked jungle. Could her hair really stay that neat in such conditions? Another photo shows tiny pieces of paper, a mirror, and strips of cloth laid out on a rock. Journalist Jeremy Kryt from the Daily Beast suggested this might have been an attempt to create an SOS signal visible from the sky. The mirror could have been used to reflect sunlight. Finally, one of the most unsettling images is very unclear, but it seems to show part of a human face. In the upper right corner, strands resembling hair can be seen. When compared to another image, some believe it could actually be Lisanne's face. One of the final mysterious photos was taken at very close range. Because the flash was so bright, it's difficult to make out what it shows. When compared with the earlier hair photo, some believe it could be the same person's hair. But opinions differ. Ask 10 people what they see, and you'll likely get 10 different answers. What's clear is that many of these photos were taken in quick succession, sometimes every 10 seconds, sometimes every minute. Most were shot between 1:39 a.m. and 2 a.m., then the pace slowed. The last known photo was taken at 4:10 a.m. Some suggest the camera flash was used simply to light the path in the darkness. Others think it was meant to scare away predators. But since no animals appear in the photos, that theory seems less likely. The scariest question remains: who took these photos? None of them show the girl's hands or feet. Is it possible someone else was behind the camera? Now, let's connect the evidence. Were the 2 red bags in the photos really theirs? Inside the house where the girls had been staying, investigators noticed the same type of red bags. The scraps of paper also resembled papers found in their room, and even one fragment recovered from the backpack. This suggests the girls themselves likely took those photos, possibly using the red bags and paper as signals to attract attention. But the investigation didn't end there. Soon, even more terrifying discoveries were made. June 16, 2014, a brown hiking boot was found, containing human remains, part of a foot. DNA testing confirmed it belonged to Lisanne. August 2014, search teams found scattered bones near the village of Alto Romero. Among them were a fractured pelvic bone confirmed to be Kris's, and a piece of Lisanne's shin bone with bits of skin still attached. Additional small fragments included ribs belonging to Kris, and broken bones later identified as Lisanne's. These findings were undeniable proof that both girls had died. Because the bones were scattered across the jungle, investigators officially concluded that they may have been attacked, or at least scavenged, by wild animals. The case was closed. But many people didn't accept that explanation, pointing out all the contradictions. Let's look at 2 major theories. Theory 1: murder by criminals. Some believe the girls fell victim to a killer, or even organized crime. Remember the 2 young men who were in the taxi? The driver claimed they got out earlier, but said he couldn't remember their faces. Why not? 2 possibilities. He truly didn't notice them. He knew exactly who they were but was afraid to say, perhaps because they were criminals or gang members. This theory is fueled by the fact that the taxi driver himself died in an accident about 10 months later. Was this connected? If the investigation had gone further, might those men have been exposed? But why kill the girls? Some speculate it was sexual assault followed by murder. Others think they were killed for organ trafficking, with their bones later scattered to cover up the crime. One disturbing clue: one of Lisanne's bones was so unnaturally clean and white that forensic experts detected an abnormal level of phosphorus in it, suggesting chemical treatment, not just natural decay. Theory 2: a tragic accident. The second possibility is that the girls simply fell. One theory holds that Kris slipped and fell off a cliff, suffering fatal injuries. One eerie photo may support this. It shows her face obscured by her hair. Some believe Lisanne covered Kris's face with her own hair because she couldn't bear to look at her injuries. Lisanne herself may have been injured, possibly a leg wound, forcing her to crawl or remain lying down. The night photos may have been her desperate attempt to call for help. As for the scattered bones, wild cats in Panama are known to feed mostly on the soft tissue of prey but leave the bones behind. They drag remains to different places, which could explain why Kris's and Lisanne's bones were found far apart. Panamanian cats don't have the jaw strength to crush large bones, which is why Kris's pelvic bone showed no bite marks. Eventually, the remaining tissue would have attracted insects. Forensic experts believe the unusual phosphorus levels could be explained by the digestive enzymes of fly larvae feeding on decomposing flesh. Fly larvae secrete enzymes that break down the organic material around bones. This process leaves behind phosphate deposits on the surface, which could explain the unusual findings on Kris's remains. As for the backpack found by the river, there are 2 main possibilities. It may have been planted there by experienced criminals who wanted to hide their involvement. Or, perhaps someone stumbled upon the girls shortly after their deaths, took the backpack because it contained valuables, modern smartphones, a camera, and cash for 2014, and then, fearing suspicion when the large search operation began, returned the bag to the river to avoid being linked to the crime. To me, the second scenario seems quite plausible. But regardless of the theories, one fact remains: the girls didn't follow the local advice. Residents had warned that the trail was dangerous and should only be attempted with a professional guide. Ignoring that guidance was a tragic mistake. Today, a memorial stands in their honor. And there's an important lesson here: before traveling anywhere, always learn about its history and current safety conditions. Doing so not only keeps your journey safer, but also makes the experience more meaningful. For now, goodbye.